Great. This is an open discussion about crypto, AI, Trump, market, stablecoins. We did a X space about 10 days ago with this similar topic, and just because of everything that's going on, the fire hose of things happening and information and things that the Trump administration is doing, people seem to like to have this discussion. So what we did was we called it Unburdened by What Has Been. So that name has stuck. So this is the second episode of Unburdened by What Has Been. And I think we have a whopper today. So before we start, we just want to make sure that nothing said here by anyone is it is all not financial advice. The views are expressed by each person are personal, and not that of BankX or any of the team at BankX. And before you make any decisions, make sure you consult with your financial or tax professional. You're going to hear from speakers. They probably have projects. When they introduce themselves, or they're certainly welcome to talk about their project, as I'd also like to know what other people are doing. I have a big interest in AI, and if there's projects that can help me do some things for BankX in the AI arena, I'd certainly like to know about it. So I appreciate that. So I am Lance Parker, the founder of BankX. I've been in technology for 20 years. This is my fourth project or company. My personal account is listening to this, so if you'd like to check out my profile and follow me personally, you can certainly do that there. So it's easy to do that. I had a mobile application security company to start with, and then we have a network that we are building to store cryptocurrency wallets that's disconnected from the internet. And then we have released BankX, the first stablecoin that pays you interest for minting a stablecoin. It was inspired by other protocols like Frax, uh, Olympus DAO, and Hex for some of the things that Hex had proven economically by what their token economics has shown to do. So you can follow me at Lance Parker IO. I also have a personal website, lanceparker.io, that gives my background, and I think even a video. Well, there is a video there where I walk through my background and what I'm doing, just for people who are more interested. And so for BankX, you can certainly follow that also. The X for BankX is at BankXIO. Also, our website is www.bankx.io. Also, I want to say thank you again to Johnny and Craig for helping to invite speakers and uh, listeners to this. If you are attending and you know of people that would like to join the next one, please let us know. You can DM me at Lance Parker on Telegram or on here on X. And Johnny, I saw your message. I will add uh, I will add that speaker shortly. I've added 3 or so speakers, so I wanted to get through sort of the setup for the space, and then once they speak, we'll remove them and then add the new speakers. Last time, Johnny, I don't know if you heard, but I maxed out the speakers and just had a bit of a management issue there. So I think we've got a lot to talk about again on Unburdened by What Has Been, X Space number 2. So I wanted to go over some topics, what is happening, because there's a lot going on. Uh, Trump is just in beast mode. He is just moving so fast that his sort of the other side of the aisle can't keep up with him, and sort of this Operation Golden Age. So I'd also like to give some thoughts on that, and I think it will remind people of some things that they may have thought of and want to talk about. And then I'll open it up to any speakers, and certainly you can do an introduction of yourself if you have a project. I'd love to hear about it. Even if you have a stable coin, I think there's crypto is and AI is in its infancy, so there's room for everyone. So happy to hear about what everybody's doing if you do have a project. So since BankX is a stablecoin, I'm always on the lookout for what's happening. So ARK Invest just released a paper, Big Ideas 2025, They said that Tether makes the most net revenue per employee than any other financial firm, so making the most money using your money. So one of the things we've talked about is stable coins, where you put your asset in a bank account that they control, and they go buy other assets, whether that's commercial paper or uh, or T-bills, where they're making billions of dollars a year. So that's certainly what's happening. There were some of those centralized USD-backed stablecoins. Q4 that was described in this paper saw the most amount of VC deals going to stablecoins, because I guess there was a large deal with Tether. I haven't looked in detail on that, but apparently that's what happened. And then after that was infrastructure, trading, borrowing, and then AI. Then the total stablecoin market of 203 billion is still less than 1% of the M2 money supply, which is sort of currency, demand deposits, sort of that level of the money supply. What is also interesting is stablecoins took over Visa and MasterCard in transaction volume in 2024. So, is this that tipping point that we talk about in technology, or the law of the diffusion of technologically, law of diffusion, as you reach sort of that 13 to 15% tipping point? I don't think we're there yet, but that is sort of a key milestone, I think, because to me, as I've always said to people who have come on before, stablecoins hold the key to mass adoption. So I think, for reasons that we'll talk about, we'll really start to see sort of mass marketing around them too. This is a peculiar market. There was the deep seek sort of introduction, and was that planned by China? Was it meant to create a market crash in the U.S. because of maybe not agreeing with all the things that Trump is doing from a pro-America perspective? We have BlackRock reportedly shorting the market. Interest rate, tariffs. We had a big leverage liquidation event that happened earlier this week. I think it was roughly about 8 billion or so that was liquidated. And of course, you have the Trump meme coin and the meme coin craze on Solana taking attention in liquidity, while ETH is down. When ETH dropped, Trump buys another 85,000 Ethereum. I was telling friends this, and they said $85,000. Like, no, 85,000 Ethereum. And I think he has now roughly around 470 million in Ethereum and roughly 60 million in Bitcoin, if I'm correct. So with his things that he said about stablecoins, you have Ethereum that has most of the stablecoins on that chain. So I think the way he's talking, Trump sort of pro USD stablecoins, so pro ETH, and sort of his administration. So I share some of the same sort of bullish sentiments around ETH, even though it's sort of had a lot of negativity and in a down market. And of course, we have the Bitcoin as the digital gold, and then and strategic reserve, and then ETH as the platform for most stablecoins, where he's talked about very pro USD backed stablecoin legislation and viewpoints from the current administration. So this to me seems like it could be a setup where, if it doesn't happen under Trump, that the USD-backed stablecoins could eventually be absorbed into the U.S. financial system, or the legacy banking system, which is something I've predicted for a while, that's what could happen with something like this. So certainly ETH, with its my bullish sentiments, and they still have 5,000 devs, all the innovation and liquidity, and as ETH goes, so do sort of all the other alt blockchains that pull from Ethereum. But we usually have an up month in February, so we'll see what happens with that on the market. And as I mentioned, Trump is moving at lightning speed, where they can't even keep up with him. Right. So this second term of Trump is just, I get goosebumps every day when I hear about what he's doing. So the Trump 2.0, after being beat around a bit in his first term, near assassination, he is just I've never seen a president like this. It's just wild. Moving over to the SEC, it's really there obviously is a new vibe within the SEC. So from a pulse chain community perspective, that would be good, and all the other SEC cases that are open. Some of the things that I've heard that the SEC is considering or putting in place would be something like a retroactive relief for all coin and token offerings that have been in the past up until today that would be ruled as not a security. They talked about some form of registration to sort of get that relief. But to me, that feels a little sort of fishy. Like, as a gun owner, is it, are they making you register so they know who you are and where you live and all of those things, just like they would with potentially with a gun registration. I think they're also looking at settling the jurisdiction argument of whether U.S. can pursue certain founders. So that would be good to have some clarity around that and regulation clarity. They've talked about U.S. based crypto not paying taxes or capital gains. So then the question is, like, how are they really going to do that? What makes a U.S. crypto company? Is it because I'm a U.S. citizen, or the founders are in the U.S., or do they just agree to be under the laws of the USA? Some other interesting things were the tariffs and negotiations. So to me, I do like tariffs. When I really started to look at what Trump was doing, and he's using them as a negotiation tactic. So you see countries like Canada and Mexico, and I think even Colombia, where he announces a tariff because they're not doing what he wants, and they bark for a few days, and then they end up doing what he wants, whether that's putting their own troops on the border to make sure that's being taken care of on their side. But from an economic perspective, it certainly helps to move everything here, or move a lot of things here on shore. So I think it's a good thing in general. And then the argument would be, well, they'll just do it to us, or what about the countries that do us? But are they really letting every U.S. company sell products in, or is it just sort of the BlackRock family of companies, right? One of the things that I'm paying real close attention to is the Trump Sovereign Wealth Fund and what he's saying with the External Revenue Service. So uh, it would be an incredible thing to think that we would generate revenue from our own assets within the US, which sounds like what this Trump Sovereign Wealth Fund is, plus the External Revenue Service, where we're collecting tariff revenue, and then with the ability to print, will that end the IRS and the income tax? I think you could potentially generate enough money where we would not need, say, this income tax, which opens this whole thing of, well, the Federal Reserve Bank and IRS are somewhat connected and created at the same time. What does this mean? So some of the other things, the last few points I want to just bring to attention, maybe talk a little bit about, is more political, and just some general thoughts, because I do think it's interesting. I've grew up in the DC area. I've been around politics and interested in it for a bit, for quite a time. One of the things that Trump did was he basically warned Iran that if he was assassinated, they would level the country, right? So I immediately thought, when he said that, I was like, well, now you're giving the people who tried to kill you the last two times a reason to kill you, because they would get rid of you and all the great things you're doing. But then also it allows them to start another war as you're ending the Ukraine-Russian war and some of the other things. Another thing is interesting, the reported 300,000 children that were lost or trafficked. They've immediately found 80,000, and we have Pam Bondi saying that she's going to release the Epstein files, which I have been waiting for years. It looked like, and I may be wrong on this number, but Trump impounded about $3 trillion that had not been spent yet from the previous administration. So it's just wild like the never-ending reports of what's happening with Doge, the government agency, not the coin, where there's reports of them estimating around 30 to 40 trillion in waste and fraud over the last 30 years. with something like 55,000 non-government organizations getting money to the tune of billions a year, where say less than 12% of that is actually going to the cause, and they're really funneling that money back to the politicians with crazy things like 15 million for shrimp on treadmills or 50 million for condoms to Gaza. When really all they're doing is starting wars and laundering money back to themselves. These crimes are like the bigger than any mafia movie could ever sort of have or talk about. It's just crazy what's going on. And you have Zelensky saying that he only got 58% of the 200 billion or whatever it is. Um, so USAID and Victoria Nuland were clearly involved back in 2014 through the um, for the overthrow of Ukraine. So USAID, I mean, the things that I'm hearing with that are just crazy. And yes, Johnny, I'll approve Cibro. Yes, I'll bring him on first. Cibro. Let me just make sure where I don't see you. Request to speak, Cibro. Chuckle, approve. I don't see. Which name is it, Johnny? Can you post me Cibro? I do not see him in the request to speak. Yep. So Cibro, if you want to speak, just raise your hand. I'll let you in. And just to sort of wrap on that with the things that are going on with Doge is USAID with all the things that they're talking about with all of the waste and fraud of funding all these crazy things has just been eye-opening to see. So obviously they're closing that. Department of Education is probably next. They're at the FBI, and I think they're in CIA next. So I brought up those sort of political things because I think it really talks to things that people in crypto are about, where it's all lessons in what happens in centralization. So that is really most what I wanted to cover. I hope it sparked some ideas about thoughts you have in different subjects and all of that. So let me. Whoever would like to speak, you can go ahead and unmute. I'll add these other six. Um, I don't see. I do not see him, Johnny. Let me add you, Johnny. Go ahead, Johnny. You're able to speak, and I'll add the other five. So if anybody would like to comment, talk about anything crypto, AI, Trump,
Hello,
market,
should I speak?
stablecoins. Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, am I audible or my voice is talking? Let me ask this thing first. My voice is clear or not?
I'm sorry. You're clear. Yes, go ahead.
All right, all right. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's Chimp. Chimp, can we call you
yes,
that?
yes. No, no,
Okay.
no, no. My actual name is Tyagiji. I work with Chimpex AI as community lead. So yeah, my role
Ah.
my role includes managing the day-to-day activities of like monitoring the community activities, spot out the latest trends, and connect with everyone in the space, like to spread a positive about our chimp. So yeah, when we talk about Chimpex, I won't go and explain in long because it will take time. But yeah, to keep
Hmm.
it short, I will say like Chimpex AI simplifies DeFi as your personal assistant. Just you can issue a command and it executes the entire operation, optimizing routes for speed and cost. I know like it's some like I said something like very fast, but yeah, like we have just rebranded ourselves from Chimpex Exchange to Chimpex AI. We are now focusing over like making DeFi segment in the AI, making it simpler.
Hmm.
That's what we are doing currently. So yeah, like when I was listening to you, you said like our topic like, we were like this man is speaking like everything out, like each and everything you talk about, like and about the Trump, about the market crash, about the deep seek. I was like, yeah, this guy is talking good. So yeah, when you say like for the deep,
Yeah, sorry, I just had to switch headphones because I'm hearing that we can't hear you. Yeah, so I'm all the way in with that, but I do have an interest in AI and what they're calling, I guess, Def AI. I prefer to call it AI Defy, but that name didn't stick. But could you give a little bit of what your AI does?
our AI basically like I feeling like echo. My voice is getting echo.
Okay. Do you?
My voice, my voice is
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
we can hear. Go ahead.
So yeah, basically,
There is an echo.
AI there's an echo, right?
Just a bit
Yes.
of feedback. Do you have two devices open, maybe? No, somebody. I think somebody has two devices open. Maybe it's you, Max. There is some feedback.
Okay. It shouldn't be. I'll leave the personal one. How's that?
Let me speak. No, it's still echoing.
How is that, Craig?
Let's see.
Yeah, is
Hello.
that better?
Still an echo.
It's
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to continue. That's where it's coming from.
Okay. All right.
Things come from BankX, but
I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it. Go ahead, guys. I'll fix it right now.
oh, let's just begin. If I'm audible, then there's no issue. No
Okay.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
So yeah,
I just had to switch.
yes,
Okay,
it's
I had to
done.
switch that. So yeah, did you want to comment on any of the things happening, crypto, AI, Trump, market, stablecoins, anything like that? You have any thoughts on some of the stuff I covered?
Yeah. Yeah, when you said that like what was scripted when you said about the deep seek, like it was planned by China for the for the impact for crashing the US economy. I was thinking about the
Mm-hmm.
same. Like the timing was so much exact, and they are now planning even Trump is now being crazy. Like he's applying 10% tariff on China and for the 25% over Canada and
Mm-hmm.
Mexico. But Canada restricted that part. Canada is restricting that part. Like they are saying that we will also do the same. So he pushed down that and he said, I will give you 60, like 30 to 60-day notice has been given to Canada for like, let's just settle it out. And for China, they are like, we don't want to settle.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, like, so I can see a negative sentiment over here. Like China has a good hardware part and US is strong for its software.
Mm-hmm.
So both things goes hand in hand. But now they if they will like there will be a war for like this thing. You can see like Trump is only nationalist about he's on like all about America, America, America. But you see, he don't give he don't give a damn about others. And that part when you said I was like you are true, you are speaking good for that. For AI part, you were saying like in AI, I am speaking like AI agents are taking the boom. Each and every project is now all focusing over the AI agent, but they are not completely unleashing the true potential for AI agent. Like you see, there are numerous projects in the market. They just put their name AI, and I think like they can go and can raise funding and all, but they are not doing the thing. So that part I kind of feel like it's disrupting the market. But we are currently dealing in the most hottest segment, that's the Def
Mm-hmm.
AI,
I have a lot of interest
because
in
they are
that.
only like
Yeah,
limited.
I think AI is clearly has the mind share, and so I'm very interested. For the BankX stablecoin, we have a two AI projects that are related to the system adjacent to it that I think are going to help. So I'm always interested in hearing what people say. But yeah, any other thoughts? And we'll I've got someone I think that wants to pop on. Is it Sebro? Sebro, you're there. If it sounded like we needed to add
Yep,
you
I'm
just in
here.
case you might be short on time or so. Would you like to go?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right,
Thanks
sir.
for
Go ahead.
inviting me today. Yeah, hi Lance.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting, and I'm
Thank you,
really
sir.
glad to be here. Thank you for this broad, set of topics to discuss. I just want to add some couple of thoughts about it. But first, I will tell you about Cybro. So Cybro is an AI-powered earn marketplace, a multi-chain earn marketplace, and basically it's a yield aggregator. And we are live on Base, Blast, and Arbitrum. We are working more with Arbitrum now. We initially launched in July last year on Blast. And the AI role in our system is the AI broker function. The AI broker will be a function that that analyzes the user portfolio, his assets, his previous investments, his risk profile, and offers him a set of strategies that will be implemented on chain. So that's what we are working on. We hope to release AI broker in this quarter. We are working on it. Our designers and developers are working on it, and I hope that first release will be in the beginning of March. So that's the role of AI. But even without AI, Cyber would be a very good yield aggregator, and I use it at this moment, even now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's people talk about universal basic income. I think this is it right here, right? It's kind of crypto and the automation and AI agents is the answer to that. Then is the answer to that rather than sort of the centralized governmental, let's tax you and then distribute it out. I like that a lot better. So
Yeah.
this manages your portfolio. Is that what that's doing, Cybro?
Yeah, it's Cybro. So yes, actually,
Cybro.
what is an error marketplace and what is a usual DeFi aggregator out there? So you find a place where you have like hundreds of vaults, like for example Beefy or Superform or even Cybro. Now we have tens or hundreds of those vaults, and it's difficult for a Web3 newcomer, a person who just bought Bitcoin or ETH, or just he got some stable coins and he decides what to do with them. And he wants to find a pool or something, or investment option where he can grow his crypto assets. Well, we solve this issue by simplifying this process, by onboarding him easily into allowing him and educating him to grow his crypto assets. And the AI broker feature, it's supposed to build on board, build and prepare the strategy for the user, so he doesn't have to spend lots of hours of studying, of finding the appropriate pools and vaults and strategies, or even, for example, doing some manual stuff. I will give an example, just not to be so vague. So, for example, we have a Blast index inside Cybro. It's an index of 4 lending protocols on Blast. We are also deploying one index on Base. We will have an index in March on Arbitrum, and this allows you to farm different protocols at the same time without the need to rebalance it every time. Or, for example, we have Stargate vaults on Arbitrum and Base, where the user doesn't have to reclaim the yield and reinvest it. So this is what we're working at. So DeFi should be simple, just like Revolut. And are you familiar with the Revolut? So if you use Revolut, and for example, I live in Lisbon in Portugal, and the banking system here is I don't know how to describe it, but it's difficult to use those banking systems. And I'm sure that all of you guys know how banking systems are old, and well, it's difficult to use them, and there are restrictions on that. And we tried to make a Revolut for DeFi and make crypto and Web3 as a whole closer to the user. So the AI broker should bring the usage of crypto assets, growth of crypto assets, as close as possible to the user, to the users who just came to Web3, who just bought their first token, who just started the journey. And we think that now DeFi is too sophisticated. For example, if you go to, I don't know what to say bad words about our competitors, but we can Superform or some other like Beefy or Somali, or there are lots of, or even Harvest Finance. You can find that it's difficult to understand, or your finance, it's difficult to use it for a Web3 newcomer. It's difficult to understand the real yield, and it's difficult to manage the portfolio if you didn't do it before, if you didn't do it for months or even for a year. So this is what we need to do, is to simplify. I think that my mission and the Cybro's mission in crypto is to make it simpler than it is now, because now we have everything that we need, but it's still too complex for a usual person, for not even for a grandma, even for an educated person or a person who is in IT, explaining what is crypto and how to grow your crypto and how does it work or how the strategies work. It's all too complicated. That's
Cool.
that's the role of
Yeah.
a broker now.
Yeah, absolutely. So does it perform the executions too, or it gives you recommendations and the user has to go out and do the buying and selling?
Well, we have a minimum plan and a maximum plan. Of course, the maximum plan is to build the strategy on chain, a personal strategy on chain. The minimum plan is to, of course, give some recommendations, but there are some limitations. And you talked about it actually in the beginning about legislation and what Trump does. And you know that, for example, in Europe, there is this MiCA regulation that is already coming into force, and we need to comply with those rules. So, for example, we cannot do some active management or portfolio management without the license, without the MiCA license for Europe, for example. And this is something that limits the ability of the AI broker to be fully independent. So for this, most of the parts, the AA broker can do it. For example, it can find the suitable strategies. It can offer to the user, but that is a financial advice, of course. So we need to, so the decision, for example, the final selection should be on the user, and then the AI broker can continue and build the strategy on chain, so the user doesn't do the rebalancing, the reinvesting, the claiming of the points and tokens, yield points. Yield tokens. So this is what AI broker can do. But we have to comply, and this is the trickiest part. And regarding the topics that you opened in this today's session, I think that this year, what I'm waiting for is the clarity of the rules. They should be clear, they should be easy to implement, and they should lead the industry, not restrict it. So that's what I'm waiting for. So far, I don't know. Maybe we had some hopes for Trump to ease them, but I'm not sure about what's happening now. I'm looking at the market and the prices, the Melania token behavior, the Trump token behavior, and the market overall. Everything is in a slight depression and maybe shocked. And I don't know what will happen. For example, in 3 months, it's still better than before February and January 2024. But you see, I hope I still look positive, but it's difficult because the times that the Ethereum, which costs 2,600, is not what we want, what we all want.
Yeah. It should be 7,500 on its way to 15. But one thing with Trump, he doesn't really put up any smoke screens. He kind of just says it as it is, and I think will do what he says. So when he says we want to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world, I think he's going to head in that direction as much as he can. So we'll see. Because I think he'd want to try to get people like you to move from countries where they're sort of giving you a hard time from a regulation perspective and be in the U.S. So we'll see. But Cybro, I'd like to talk with you. I have a sort of a next thing that I'm doing with BankX that maybe we could partner on some things. It basically, you deposit crypto on each chain that we're deployed, and it does some things in an automated fashion to take advantage of the system where you can profit within BankX. And then sort of beyond that would be some of the automation beyond BankX, right? So I think we might be able to see how might work together here. So
sure, let's talk. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, let's discuss.
Good. All right, Cybro, thanks very much. Fabian, you're on. Not to put any pressure on you, but do you want to now that your trip to DC is gone, do you have any thoughts about that and other things you learned, other interviews that you had while you're in DC? Because I don't know if people who weren't on last time. So Fabian's the CMO of BankX, but he also has a podcast called Breakaway USA, and it does very well, and he was there in DC interviewing a bunch of people. So I just brought you on, Fabian. If you have anything you'd like to add. I added you, Fabian, then it went from speaker to listener, so you might have to request again. There you go. You're in. I think you just have to unmute, Fabian, if you want to.
Hey guys, yeah, sorry, I disconnected there for a second. Can you repeat what you just said in the last 15 seconds?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, when you get a good connection, just hop back on. Absolutely. So Lido, would go ahead and if you have some things you want to add on what's going on.
Hey Lance, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, Lido,
Okay.
maybe wait 1 second and then go ahead, Fabian.
All right. Hey everyone, this is Fabian, involved with BankX for a very long time, known Lance for over 10 years. You are in good company. Lance is one of the hardest workers I know. Sometimes I even have to tell him to stop working and go.
Thank you,
It
sir.
does. But I wanted to explain what we've done. We spent the last month in Washington, D.C., covering the inauguration, the transfer of power, going behind the scenes, and bringing back BankX to the forefront of it. Just to give you a rundown, some of the things that we did were interview very, very famous advisors to Donald Trump. We have interviewed foreign and domestic and financial experts that work at different think tank organizations in Washington, D.C. And we specifically mentioned them and spoke about things in reference to stable coins that are tied to things other than the US dollar. So, for instance, silver, which BankX is pegged to. And the reception we got was very positive. We met with a Congressman Timmons out of North Carolina, who sits on the Doge subcommittee for the House Oversight Committee, which is basically delivering on government efficiency. So doing what Elon's Doge is doing, but from a more legislative aspect or I guess section. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is the head of that committee. So we spoke to Congressman Timmons regarding stablecoins. He is very pro crypto. He even has his own .weth domain. So there's a lot of congressmen who now are finally understanding crypto, who actually know about it, not like a Bernie Sanders trying to talk about crypto, which he doesn't know, or anyone else. You pick who you want to talk about. But it was interesting. It was incredible being there. There are a lot of good sentiments with crypto in Capitol Hill. Congressmen and members love it now, especially after Trump has gone out and said that he wants to make U.S. crypto capital of the world. We've heard things from the administration say that they want to make U.S. crypto at zero tax basis, so that's something that's going to be worked on. But overall, really, really good impressions. People love it now, and we'll see if the U.S. decides to spend some of their treasury on getting some Bitcoin, which I think would just absolutely move numbers astronomically if that does happen. But yeah, it's been great. Lance?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Fabian. Yeah, I was there for about a week, so we did some content there and things like that. You'll start to see from Breakaway. But yeah, appreciate it, Fabian. Yeah, it's
that's
a
right.
good time to be there. Yeah, so awesome. So John,
Yeah, it was great. And guys, you can check out the video that I made with Lance in front of the Supreme Court building, actually, where we had our interviews. So you guys can check that out.
Cool. Thanks, Fabian.
Great.
So cool. Yeah. So Johnny, I don't see AI Imagine. So I was going to do AI Imagine, Dementher, James Davis, and then Fide. So Fide, I see your request. I just want to, we'll just go through that. So if AI Imagine, if you are on, go ahead, but I do not see you anywhere. So they might have had to pop off. So with that, maybe Demether. That was the next one.
Hey, Lance. Hi there, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes. Is this Kartik?
Amazing. Yes, indeed. Hi there. My name is Kartik Swaminathan from Demether. Thank you very much for the time to kind of appear and have a quick chat about what we're up to and opine on the many interesting topics that you've mentioned so far. So introduction from my side. Again, my name is Kartik. I live in Australia. I'm from the UK. We're very much a global community in crypto. So absolutely delighted to embrace that from the US, where people have just been so silent and so afraid and, almost meeting up in speakeasies. And it's kind of done a 180. So, really amazing to see my US friends in crypto really starting to get their voices heard. So from my side, I did 18 years in TradFi among all of the major US banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. I enjoyed the heck out of it, but the bureaucracy, the increase in regulation over that period was just like astronomical. And it really made me feel that there was a better way to do things. So having discovered crypto, ending up at Animoca Brands on the buy side for a couple of years, it really unlocked that passion in me to become an entrepreneur on the crypto side. And hence we have Demetha. What do we do? We're a DeFi platform that helps blockchain foundations to retain capital. They're really, really good at attracting it. They have bridging campaigns, they have points, they have DeFi incentives. But once that airdrop happens of the governance token, it just all kind of starts to unwind. You get social proof that whales are dumping and moving on, and everyone starts to move out. So we'd like to incentivize people with what we think is most valuable in this cycle, which is yield. So we have a suite of yield-bearing tokens from an Ethereum LRT built on staked Frax, big fans of Frax project, and also Symbiotic, up-and-coming newer and shinier version of Eigenlayer. And we're shipping that to a bunch of EVM chains. We're also doing something very similar with Solana. So we are the fourth VRT, as they call it, on Jito. We were invited to help expand the footprint from Solana into EVM land, and we'll be shipping that product into Arbitrum Base, Tyco, Superposition, and Movement as well in the very near future. So it's great to be here. I think the interesting topics that have come up that I'd love to kind of throw in my 2 cents on. Number one, AI. I mean, there is no way that there will be DeFi projects and DeFi, DeF AI, Def AI, whatever you want to call it. I don't think we've kind of, locked down a nomenclature, but it's absolutely inevitable. And it reminds me of way back in the 2000s where everyone was converting into a .com. I think in my mind, it's absolutely laughable that 90% of projects out there are calling themselves AI. It's as essential as having an internet presence. So when
Yeah.
people talk about the web, it's the convergence of decentralization and crypto, as we call it, Web3, plus AI, which makes it a silky smooth process, which is what everyone had always wanted it to be. So no doubt that we will be bringing on AI features. I don't think we're going to be quite as vocal as many other projects in the space. I've heard from some of my esteemed peers today, and you guys are doing amazing things. Like, we can't wait to follow in your footsteps. And by the time we launch them and we do it well, we probably won't need to talk about AI. But having said that, I mean, yes, of course, we have also registered our .ai name. So we'll be transitioning to that for the sake of the narrative. But we're absolutely here to embrace the idea that we want to lower the barrier for normal people to get involved in crypto, to be able to generate amazing yields, to be able to serve the community and the ecosystems, and really kind of help to progress the space from here. In terms of the topical things that have come up, politics is always a hot topic. I mean, to speak from my own perspective, I cannot wait for such a shakeup to happen in my own home country, the UK. I think we've kind of been through so many, start stops and fumbles along the way, like Brexit and what's happening. But I left Europe because it's becoming biblical out there. Like, we have war, pestilence, famine, Brexit, like terrible politicians that you can't really put your weight behind to defend the common people's interests. So having access to Asia a couple of years ago when we moved made a lot of sense. But it's amazing that we're also seeing that migration towards deregulation and decentralization in the US as well. So let the US lead, and I really hope that the rest of the world will be able to follow. Tax is a super interesting topic, right? So I just heard your colleague mention that there could be some tax relief on long-term crypto holders. I cannot wait for something like that. I mean, in Australia, it's absolutely draconian. So regardless of what you do, they will tax global profits. And moreover, they'll tax your crypto profits twice as hard as TradFi. Like, what is that? It's some kind of innovation tax. And it just makes no sense to me. So I really hope that not only does the US kind of lead from the front, we also have that ripple effect of Trump and other politicians putting pressure on others to help comply. And it'll be in the best interest of everyone to avoid that brain drain into any one geography and help to kind of flatten the world, as it were. So very, very excited for all things to come. We're very much looking forward to working with a bunch of projects that are here on this podcast. Love to kind of have a follow-up conversation with BankX, because I could definitely see a place for a new synthetic kind of hybrid vault that we'll be launching in the next 6 months or so. But yeah, thank you again.
Cool.
Very happy to answer
Yeah,
any more questions.
cool. I make a note, Kartik. I'll follow up with you after this. We can see how we might work together on that. But yeah, perfect. And yeah, to your point on taxes, you know, the whole idea of no taxes on crypto would really force people, I think, away from the legacy financial system, especially U.S. citizens that live abroad. We have something called FATCA. The Foreign Account Tax Accountability, blah, blah, whatever name is, which means that no matter where you live as a U.S. citizen, you owe the IRS and the U.S. money anyway. So if there's no taxes on there, there's really nothing to file. So that would be a fascinating thing to have in there. So yeah, appreciate your thoughts there on that. So that was Demether and Kartik, and then so now we have James Davies. If you'd like to cover anything, I'm just following down the list here from Johnny. So go ahead.
Thanks very much. Well, that's an interesting set of geopolitics mixed up with builder stories, isn't it? That sets the story in a different way. I think I can do the builder story stuff. I think the geopolitics stuff is more interesting, and then the builder story has got to relate back into the geopolitics. One thing I find absolutely fascinating, looking at different politics around the world, and have the fortunate or unfortunate, depending on which side of the fence you're on, fact that I'm seeing people I worked with stood next to Trump and are now secretaries of commerce. So people I worked with very closely and did investor calls with for many years. And that's Howard Lutnick. But looking at all of this, what I find remarkable is I've been taught all the way through my life to not believe a word a politician says. And I continue to apply that. I don't really care whether they're left, right, middle, whatever. I don't trust them and I don't believe them, and I need them to prove it. And I'm not seeing anything yet that's proving it. I'm seeing an awful lot of really, really, really good marketing. I want some draft legislation so as we can do the things that we've been talking about. That's what I want to see. And until I get that, I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer until people actually start to deliver on stuff. So that's where it all feels really interesting. I want to see that we start to change the rules around how we're going to do this with crypto, that we integrate them. And then that sort of brings us back into that, you know, looking at things like international tax laws. Yep, we need an equal playing field with everything else. But that's not really the reason why TradFi is coming across. You know, if this was a cheaper way of running it, you know, Kartik mentioned Goldman's earlier. If this was a cheaper way of doing the same business they could do today, they'd be the ones running all the blockchains. The issue is that we don't yet have all the infrastructure that TradFi has. I've worked across commodities markets all over the world. If I go to sub-Saharan Africa and I meet a farmer that's trading agricultural products and covering the hedging, he has lower costs and better capital efficiency than I do if I go to the biggest exchange in the world for crypto and trade perps. We do not get people to come over and trade with us until that happens. So watching Robinhood come out last week and say that they're going to launch things, and they were like, no, but we're launching futures, not perps, because perps don't work. First time I'm seeing someone call that right. I'm like, that's the right way to do it. But end of the day, that's still its CME underneath it. If we want it to be in DeFi, we've got to build this infrastructure ourselves. We're doing one piece of that, but we're not going to do it all. We're a layer that does the clearing piece in the middle of it. But if we want to make these changes happen, there's no one really holding us back but our understanding of how to bring these people across. So I look at all this, and I will look at every politician for the rest of my life, from whatever side they come in, with massive doubt. Like 50 million on condoms in Gaza. Yeah, no, that wasn't happening. That just wasn't happening. I don't know who's misinterpreted what, but I don't believe it in the slightest. What I want to see is some legislation. I want to see them come through and say, this is how we're going to make it work. Not tariffs. With crypto, we're supposed to be about free trade. I don't want trade barriers. I want competition. That's my piece.
Good point, sir. Yeah. So yeah, we'll just have to see what gets pushed through. You know, Trump can't do everything. He's got to be able to, you know, get other people to Congress and you know to draft it and bring it to his desk. So great
That's
points there.
important. Yeah. But
Yep.
they did say they had it all planned and ready. So I want to see that legislation there. You can't say you got it ready and then have us all vote for. Well, I'm obviously not from the US, but and have people vote for it and then spend 3 months waiting. If I'm still waiting in 3 months, then it was a lie. Show us the legislation. Make it work, not talk about it.
Yep. We'll see. Sounds good. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
I appreciate that, James. I think next is Fide or Feed. How about if you'd like to go, and then Craig will have you.
Yeah, fine, mate. Thank you so much.
Fide. Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having us on, man.
Yeah. No problem. Appreciate you coming.
No, anytime. Listen, yeah, great panel y'all got going on here. Look, right, like a little bit about my background and my company. So, like, you know, I worked on Wall Street for, you know, over a decade, right? Like I ran money at one of the largest shops on the street. We ran, I think now, like $800 billion it is.
Wow.
I've traded equities, currencies, commodities. Like I've traded bonds, so pretty much the whole gamut. And then left all that behind, of course, to come into crypto. And at Five, what we're building is we've actually built the fastest agent-based simulation engine in the entire crypto space. So what that means is that, you know, if you're building like a DeFi project, right? If you're building any sort of project that, you know, like yield farming or leverage, right? So kind of like what the Cybro guys are doing right now. This is something that you want in your arsenal because we can find the fastest, right? We can find the fastest arbitrage opportunities in the entire crypto space, right? We're working with hedge funds. We're working with, you know, private investors. We're working with protocols to build everything from arbitrage mechanisms to agent-based simulation stress tests, right? That will take your protocol, for example, and drop it at any point on chain, so you can stress test exactly, right, and then just build like a, you know, a cluster of agents around it that interact with the protocol, so you can see exactly how your protocol would have behaved at any point in the history of the blockchain, right? Understand exactly how market dynamics would have impacted things like, you know, loan to value thresholds, liquidation thresholds, all that sort of stuff. So that's exactly what we're building at Fide, and we're working with a group of, you know, DeFi protocols, right? A top of the line, top notch guys, and we're expanding the list by the day, I would say, because I think we're at the point in crypto now where, like, you know, you can't just build a protocol off of assumptions anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like you need actual stress tests and numbers behind it. Otherwise, shit's just gonna break.
I like that because what we did early on a few years ago was we brought on a data scientist, tokenomics specialist to you know look at our system and write what they or what he thought would happen with market forces and all that, and so this simulates you know what would happen in our system. Is that am I picking up what you've built?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, you know, you can see, for example, how like, you know, the peg mechanism on a stable coin, right, would have
Yeah.
behaved across different market conditions if everyone was selling your stable coin at once, for example, right? And you want to know how much buy pressure versus how much sell pressure versus buy pressure.
Right.
You need to break your peg in this type of market environment. We answer that question for you, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a DeFi protocol and you're building now and you're not using tools like this, like, why should I even trust you as, you know, a retail buyer, as an investor, as a user, right? Because all the top guys like Aave, DYDX, GMX, right? They're doing stuff like this. And so in order to stay competitive, right, and to survive, I think, you know, stuff like this becomes super paramount. And you know, you'd be surprised at how many guys in this space aren't doing this. And then you have a conversation with them about it, and then they're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Man, we should actually be doing something like this.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I wanted to, I want to, I'll DM you privately too. I want to talk with you about what you might be able to do with our protocol and doing some of those simulations. I definitely want to.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
One
cool.
thing
Thank
that
you.
we're actually, and I'll just tell you now, one thing that we're working with a protocol on is they have like 4 or 5 liquidity pools across dexes, right? We built arbitrage bots to arb those DEX liquidity pools for the protocol itself. So instead of losing that, arb value to MEV bots or to, or to just other traders, right? They're actually capturing the revenue from the arb themselves now, right?
Wow.
So it's stuff like that that is like, it's man, if you're gonna be in DeFi, like play the DeFi game, right?
Yeah. No, this is amazing. I definitely want to. It's great with the last sort of 3 projects are very interesting. So and things where I think we could either use the system or work together. So
No,
that's
of course,
awesome.
dude.
Yeah, cool. So I'll
Of
reach out
course.
to you, and I think Johnny invited you, so I'll make sure I have a way to get a hold of you and reach out to you after this. So awesome.
Sounds good,
Anything?
man.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, or like what's going on in real life? With politics and Trump and what's going on, not on chain. So I think
Yeah,
it all works together, right?
you know what, dude? Like, I still chat with all my mates on a fairly regular basis, right? So like last week, for example, and these guys themselves run like hundreds of billions of dollars, right? So like last week we were just grabbing beers and just chatting about Trump and like what's happening with all this sort of stuff. Like what's crazy is that he came into office, right, harping on this whole idea of I'm going to lower inflation. But then if you look at everything from consumer sentiment to the Fed fund futures, right? Fed fund futures 1 month ago actually pointed towards lower signs of inflation than today, right? So essentially over the course of 1 month, consumer sentiment as well as institutional sentiment has shifted dramatically, so that people are now expecting inflation to stay higher for longer, right? And you can see that as well in the bonds market, right? Like, I mean, look, if I just look at the U.S. call it 30-year yield, right? So you essentially have to use the 30-year to gauge kind of inflation expectations, right? Fed essentially controls the front end of the curve. Market and inflation expectations control the longer end of the curve, right? About kind of 30-year is the 10 to 30-year is kind of the a sweet spot that markets look at, right? So over the course of the last quarter, what's happened really is that the 30-year yield has actually moved up by around 50 basis points. Right now, that's a massive move in bond markets, because keep in mind as well that the price of a bond is the duration of the bond, which is 30 years multiplied by the basis point shift, right? So essentially, when you have a 50 basis point shift on a 30-year bond, your bond position is down by what, like 15%, which is insane.
Wow.
Right, for bonds, which are supposed to be the stable source of your balance sheet, right, or your portfolio. So, I mean, obviously, right. So, retail sentiment is, it's poor, right? It's deteriorating. Institutional sentiment, of course, is on the same front, right? That inflation is gonna come about. Trump is, I mean, the tariffs, right? They're very pro-inflation. What his goal is through this whole process is, his goal, his vision is, what? Let me just slap tariffs on all these other countries, and hopefully, their companies will build in America and hire American employees and stuff, right? That is not gonna happen. Let me just tell you that now.
Interesting.
Right, and you're seeing that playing out in real time. Like that is just not gonna happen. What is gonna happen is that there will be counter tariffs placed upon the U.S. and you're gonna get into tariff war, which will spike inflation, right? Which means that Fed fund rates has to increase, which then means that liquidity dries up, which then means that risk assets get slammed, right? So that's basically what markets are anticipating. Now, bond markets react before equity markets, right? So the fact that the bond markets are already sensing this, right, you're seeing that from the yield on the 30-year just moving up quite dramatically, right? Now, so this has been a consistent trend, right? So bond markets are already sensing this. So I think it's a matter of time until equity markets sense it as well, right? You're seeing the Nasdaq come off slightly relative to highs, right? That is fine. Well, so you're seeing the Nasdaq come off on highs, right? And that's actually being translated into crypto markets as we speak, right? That's part of the reason why BTC, why Ethereum, why Solana, it's all down. Yeah. Until we see stronger sentiment come out on the inflation side, right? I think we're always going to be in this case of, oh my God, are we going to go back into, call it 2022, 2023 territory when yields rip like 200 basis points, right? That's scary. Risk markets don't like that. Right? And so crypto is falling off. Nasdaq is falling off slightly, right? S&P is actually doing fine, but bond markets lead equity markets, right? So the bond markets are already sensing that something's off. Equity markets, I think, are going to follow relatively soon. I've actually gone mostly in cash, which is kind of crazy, right? I mean, I'm still like shorting shitcoins, right? Like the Bear Chain launch, like I shorted that shit at $14 all the way down to $8, right? I was like, this is the most retarded thing I've seen. Like, why would you list on perp Texas, right, on day one in this type of market? It's you're just asking to be shorted, right? But I mean, look, man, I'm the most cash heavy I've been in like 8 years, right? So let's just see how this plays out.
Can I just come in and I tons of agreement there. I did exactly the same trade a few weeks ago, and I'm so happy I got out of Nvidia before it went. Also, FX markets have moved against in exactly the same way. I mean, inflation and interest rates is what I spent 25 years doing, both on the board in Chicago and then for Cantor and BGC. You're spot on with this, but what we're seeing is FX pull off is really covering the trade difference outside of the marketplace, but everybody is risk off because volatility just means risk off, and that makes money hard to come by, and that's why everything is getting squeezed on the bond side. It's everybody wants to have cash ready for stuff, and the more the vol carries on, the more risk off it'll remain, and then there'll be supply problems and capital for margin calls and collateral.
No, dude. Yeah, I completely agree. Right, like the Dixie has just been rallying, right, quite heavily since Q3, Q4 of last year. And this is actually something that I would love to get your thoughts on as well, mate. Which is, I mean, I hear people talking about how like the repo reserve is at the lowest levels it's been in ages, and central banks about to run out of like repo, and it's just, I look at that, right, and like my own take is, one, who cares, right? Like this isn't new news, right? Like markets are already aware of this, right? And it's not like this is magic switch where it's like, oh my God, like we're at this point now, then all of a sudden everything is going to go up, right? But it seems like that's one of the themes that the market is gravitating towards, right? I mean, look, I have my own thoughts on this, but I want to hear what you think as well.
I totally, it's totally what's happening out there, and that's what's causing all of the collateral issues. I mean, you can always print, so there's always going to, particularly if you're the dollar, but what's the dollar?
That's hyperinflationary, right?
Oh, it is. Yeah, but you kind of probably want that to bring down the debt, don't you? A little bit of hyperinflation and erode some of that debt down over the next few years. Have a bad place for all of the people living there, but then in 5 years' time, it's probably all right. But the one thing you've got to do is make sure that everybody that's taking and holding your dollar, which is basically the Saudis and the Chinese, holds on to it. So the one thing you should absolutely not do is piss those guys off right now. Exactly. Because you're trying everything else you're trying to do. It's like, but actually, I think there's an interesting play there, because if you raise the tariffs on everybody else, you're essentially lowering the effective tariff on China via the back door, because suddenly everyone has to play on the same thing.
This is true. This This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point though, right? Like you don't want to piss these guys off because can you imagine if China started dumping 30-year T-bills on the market?
Oh my God. I mean, it's. I mean, people do that for such small periods in such small numbers, and the effect on economies just destroys them. It's why the UK went out of the ERM rate years ago. It's catastrophic. I mean, but it's this is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where the guy gives the lecture to the class at the beginning, saying, "Anyone, anyone," and he's talking about what took them into the Great Depression, and what took them into the Great Depression? Tariff and counter trade policies.
That's true. That's true. And the gold standard just kind of prolonged it, didn't it?
The gold standard is the problem with the gold standard is that it's counter cyclical. So at the point when you want the gold to be inflating in value to cover your assets, it's counter cyclical. And the issue with Bitcoin as an asset is it's also counter cyclical. We hold bonds because they are cyclical in the right way for us. Whereas what you don't want to do is have a reserve asset that drops in value when the rest of the market does, because people use it as cash. And actually, that's what it does.
And then just not to mention, right, like you're essentially exporting deflation to the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like by holding on to, an asset like gold, right, backing your currency by it, you're just exporting deflation, which is, obviously not the right way to go, right?
Yeah, I will say that the Secretary of Commerce over there, because he was my boss and I spent a ton of time with Howard, he does know what he's doing with this stuff. So I'm hoping that he's got the ear of him and he can say, this is how you manage the bond markets. He's one of the best people at managing the bond markets, but I want to see that come through.
That's incredible. Yeah. You know what? Like, I think there should absolutely just be more people in politics who have had experience working with markets, right? At a proper, like, private institution, right? Or, like a publicly traded institution, right? But, like, not just I've been a politician my whole career, and so that's why I'm now, the head of treasury or something or the other.
And senior enough as well. I really wanted to see Chris Giancarlo come in as the next SEC head, because he really has worked on Wall Street in the right places. Worked with him at GFI. He's a really, really capable guy, and he would have been able to change something serious over there in the right direction. But it's gone to a donor, basically, in my view, which is not great.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Like this is actually why I was, I don't remember if you, I don't know if you remember, the Fed shares from a while back, but when Clarito was part of the Fed, right, I was so bullish on him because he's actually done stints at places like PIMCO, right, and like Credit Suisse, where he actually ran, right, he actually ran money, he knew the bond markets, he knew how the real world, right, reacts to policy decisions. Whereas if you just look at an economist at the Fed or an economist, working for the government, right, 9 out of 10 times they have zero experience working on Wall Street or actually trading markets, and they don't understand how any of this stuff works. Everything is theory based, right? Hence the running joke that economists are the smartest wrong people they've ever made.
Well, they say the best 30,000 economists in the world are all at investment banks, and I think that's probably true. I mean, just you highlight one thing, and I think just there's an interesting crypto story in a piece of it. I was chatting to the treasurer from Credit Suisse when they went through their crisis, and they were looking at...
Is this the most recent one?
The most recent one, yeah, when they ended up part of UBS. They were looking to see how they could compress margin for FX swaps. And they had a deal with, I think it was Barclays and Deutsche on the table, but they were going to be able to compress 600 million in FX swap collateral, which would have basically made them solvent. And they were trying to do it using a stablecoin. And they basically designed and built a stablecoin to run out of one of the Caribbean islands. And then they were going to use it like a hedge fund that they would face to be an offshore DTCC, like a compression entity that they could then all use as a margin clearinghouse, and they could just push it in, drop the clearing down, run it on a set of rules, and go in and out as much as they wanted during the day using crypto stablecoin rules. And they just couldn't get it over the line before Credit Suisse went, which was sad, but it just shows that they're really trying. They're just making them work for traditional finance is much harder than making them work for payments, and we're not there yet. They're really trying.
Yeah, look, I was talking to the head of blockchain over at Swift just yesterday, actually.
Tom Zatch or someone else?
No, Qian. Hang on, what's her full name? Qian Jiao or something like that. She runs so she runs the blockchain department now. Hang on, let me pull up her name.
Just go for it. Just go for the story.
Yeah. But anyway, so look, they are Tianjian. Yeah, Tianjian. But yeah, so they are so bearish on blockchain, right? And I was like, wait a second. Why are you even in blockchain if you're this bearish on it, right? And like they're just so it takes them so much time and so long to get anything approved. They were trying to get board approval to buy some Ethereum, and they couldn't even get that, right? Because they were using it to do testing, right, on the Ethereum blockchain, and they couldn't even get board approval for that. And so it's like, come on, guys, what do you even do in this space then?
Yeah, it's a long way from there.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we should hand their show back to them.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, I wanted you guys to go. It's a great conversation, and yeah. Anything else, Fide, or that you want to cover while we have you up?
No, I mean, look, just closing words from my end is that, and just going back to simulations, right, and kind of like agent-based simulations and stuff. Every DeFi protocol should be actively pursuing that right now, because the other thing as well is, if you think about, where the next dollar of capital is coming in from, right? It's coming from TradFi, and so if you think about the prerequisites that TradFi has to use any sort of product, right? Oh man, there's like external vendor checks are insane, and so if you don't have comprehensive audits, comprehensive simulations, right, support that back everything that you're saying, then you're just gonna lose to the competition who has it. So that's the last thing that I'll say.
Yeah, cool. I'll reach out to you. I want to see what you might be able to do for us. That'd be awesome. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
For sure, brother.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, Craig, you wanted to talk. Are you still on?
Hey, yeah, I'm still here, man.
Okay, all right, good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, man, it's great to hear from all of the speakers, some interesting points, some real interesting projects, especially everybody that's building on the DeFi and on the AI. Definitely like to connect with you guys. But yeah, this is Craig. I'm basically the head of community and partnerships and strategy with Chuckle. So Chuckle's, an AI-based meme project, and it was born from some of the founders. We have our dev that built the AI. We have an AI bot that's live, Doris. She's in our Telegram group. Actually, she's running our Twitter right now, and she's live on our website. So anybody wants to test her out and come say what's up to her, we welcome feedback, and we're looking to integrate a lot of DeFi, aspects, gamify aspects as well. We have an airdrop that you can participate in. We have a tap to earn game going right now. We just raised 100,000 in our private sale. We're gonna be doing a pre-sale soon. And yeah, Chuckle, we want to be the project where anybody can come, because the founders, they come from a traditional finance world, and they have a lot of connections with traditional companies that want to invest in crypto and founders in Web2 businesses, but they don't know how. And this is going to be a way that they can come, and a meme coin that has all that sense of community that some of the biggest meme coins have, but without all the pump and dumps, because people coming into community right now, especially in Solana, it's the Wild West out here. So we're looking to be, like I said, a place that's for degens and people that are just new to crypto. But yeah, man, it's nice. It's nice to be here. Like I said, I'm just listening to all of the different speakers and the projects, and it's amazing. You know, I've been in crypto since 2016. You know, I'm a listings manager at a centralized exchange, and I just love, man, to learn about what people are building in Web3, and these are products that I use on a daily basis. So I love it, man.
Nice.
Yeah, I see. Hey, yeah, if the Chuckle, I see Cyrus in here, so that's cool, man. Big up everybody from Chuckle that's in the community. I see Nabla Finance. I think they want. I'm not sure if they want to speak or not, but Nabla Finance and Abdul Rahman, they're building something really great over there. They launched their coin about a month ago. It went live, but that's been doing really good. So if they want to speak, you should bring them up, man.
Okay.
But yeah, shit. With Trump, I mean, the market with everything happening in the world right now is crazy. Especially with Trump, I'm keeping an eye on everything. It's kind of funny. I was watching the comments on they're gonna take over the Gaza Strip. So that was kind of funny,
and
man.
no paper straws. That's the other thing. So there's some funny things
Yeah,
going
but
on. Yeah.
one of the thing with some of my associates in the States there, like the thing with the freeze on all the federal grants and loans, that affected a lot of projects that people were putting out. So what's your thoughts on that, man? How long do you think it's going to take to get back to normal?
Yeah. Sorry, I missed that. Say that again.
Yeah, the freeze that they did on the federal grants and loans.
Oh, right. Yeah. I know that he did that. I don't know how long what is it, 30 or 90 days? You know, the president, from what I understand, has the ability to impound money that has not been spent when he takes over. So if there's money sort of in something from a previous administration, he can do that. So I don't know the law, you know, how all that could work, but from what I understand, he can do things like that. So I think he's attempting to do just that. So I'm not sure on that one, Craig, to be honest with you, but
yeah, like I said, I'm just keeping my eye on all the developments, man. But
yeah, like what I believe it was James said, we'd like to start seeing some regulation that's going to be around past Trump, where you know the SEC has clarity. There's clarity on this new asset class, crypto.
it'd be lovely. How long have you? It's been shit. It's been at least a decade now. I think we've been waiting.
Yeah, it's time to where and then you know, so if he's saying U.S. wants to be the crypto capital of the world, you know, we need to set it up. And I think we have a window of time to do that because you know clearly he can't be around for another 4 years, even if he's able to complete this full term. So yeah, he's got to start moving, I think, on the legislation front too. But I'm sure he is. We just haven't heard about it yet. So
I mean, it makes sense. Everything the U.S. is set up to be the crypto capital. So I mean, you know, I think it was kind of heading there, at least to be one of them.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Craig. Is there anyone else that would like to hop on and give any comments on what they're doing or anything in the areas that we're covering with what we're seeing? But this was a great one. I appreciate all the speakers that came on. I learned quite a number of things. I'm not I haven't managed hundreds of billions of dollars, so hearing some of those people that have done that and their perspective is really helpful. So I appreciate those speakers. I think we have one other person that would like to hop on. Johnny, I just approved you. I think you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for everyone for joining. It was great. I think my connection's dropping, but it was great to hear the discussion. I just want to hear the end of that. I just want to hear that discussion continue between Fide and James. So
yeah, if you guys want to, if you guys have more things that things that you're seeing that you want to talk, I mean, it doesn't have to be me. I like hearing what, as Johnny just said. So if there's other aspects you guys would like to talk to each other about and the listeners can benefit from, we certainly want to take advantage of having you two on if you'd like to.
Yeah, Lance, do you reckon there's anything we can do with the Heritage Foundation guys, or with Fabian and his
Yeah, I mean, we
podcast,
could
with James
we
and
could
yeah.
potentially, yeah, if James would want to talk with them and some of the people there, and maybe Fabian could do some sort of interview there. I think Fabian had to hop off, so that's something we can, you know, if James and Fiat are interested in that, I could have Fabian take a look at that.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
if any of you, all of the speakers on these spaces, we're adding into a community. So I think all of you are in there already. So every speaker will come on our space will be in this community. So you'll be able to access all of them directly, network, find funding, that sort of thing. And there'll be a short description of each of the guests as well. And you're all entitled to a free BankX mouse pad and mug. So
oh well, they will have to get that. Jesus. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Add me to that too. I don't think I'm a part of that. It's the Telegram group. If you can add me to that too.
Yeah, I'll add it to you. After.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I'll add you to it after.
Awesome.
But,
yeah. And James or Fiat, if you want to message me like, hey, we'd like to be interviewed at Heritage Foundation or some of the other, you know, provide our insights to, you know, in some sort of interview to get your perspective to, you know, some of the people that Fabian and David have been interviewing, just let us know. They have interviewed Steve Bannon, Kash Patel, there's one person, I can't remember his name, at Heritage Foundation, but they're, you know, quite involved with, I think that, you know, Jack Posobiec. You know, there's quite a number of people that, you know, with your perspective and some of the insights you could give, and being as an interesting as discussion as it is, there could be something there for you guys if you like. So definitely let us know, and I can get Fabian to take a look at that for you guys and set something up. So awesome discussion, everyone. Learned a lot and getting exposed to some of the projects that you're working on where, you know, I might be able to either use your system or partner with you was amazing. So thank you again, Johnny and Craig, for setting it up and for the speakers that came on. And we'll have this on YouTube also for people to like to YouTube and record. This one was recorded. So appreciate everyone. Stay tuned for when we schedule the next one. I'm sure within the next 7 days, it's going to be another sort of bunch of events happening, and we'll be here to comment on them and keep going. It sounds like this is a good format, and so we'll look forward to Unburdened by what has been number 3. All right, everyone. Thanks very much. See you on the next one.